my spot. I was just saying, I need to be where you're at. I'm a lefty.
Not too bad.
Thank goodness.
James.
Okay, this really isn't too bad, honestly.
Hour has arrived.
Oh, no, give it a minute.
Did you turn these back on or did?
Go from Sim.
James isn't even at his desk.
We all good?
Yep. There we go.
I'd like to call the July 3rd meeting of the Casco Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Please rise and join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Erica, would you let the record show that all members are here, are present? Are there any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, there are no changes to the agenda.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, we have a set of minutes. I think just the one. Yep, ahead in front of us.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Please.
that we approve the minutes of the June 5th, 2025 meeting.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. We're approved. Okay, so next on our agenda is the consent agenda, which has just the one item. And this is, this would be enacted by one motion, one vote of the commission. There won't be any separate discussion about this particular item unless a commission member or a member of the public would like so request. This event will be, then it'd be removed and heard as in the normal process. So anybody in the public, if this is something that you want to hear about or want to comment on, please let us know. Okay, seeing none there. Commissioners? We good? Okay.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
That'd be great.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Erica, why don't you call the roll, please?
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Very good. Okay, next is the public comment portion of our meeting. This is designed so that anybody from the public that would like to address the commission on any issue except what's on our agenda. Anything that's on our agenda, we'll get to those comments when that comes up. If there's anything else that you'd like to address the commission, please come forward.
Good evening. Thank you, Commission. And my name is Nancy Wood, 513 East Veckle Road, Casa Grande, Arizona. I'm coming tonight because of things that I've spoken of in the past on zoning for the area that's Courtson and Casa Grande Avenue, where they were doing the manufactured home kind of RV zoning for that area there. The reason I had spoken before was because on that particular property, there's the issue where the water comes down Casa Grande Avenue and diverts into that property and then winds around and goes down to Courtson. And what happens is that almost all the water that comes from the west side, just south of that area, comes down through the housing communities down different streets, and a lot of it ends up on Casa Grande Avenue, which gets pretty well flooded. Well, last night, it was more than it's been in a long time. And the problem was that it really wasn't draining very well. I think I had seen that they had taken on that property where they had a lot of mesquite trees and other things, and they'd been bulldozing and knocking stuff down, and there's still a lot of debris on the property. I don't know what the zoning is and how the property is being worked at the moment, but I believe that the work that they had done, or the fact that things hadn't been cleaned up also with ADOT and the city with the drainage that goes all the way down to the North Santa Cruz branch area, because it goes all the way out to Pinal and then goes north to drain into the North Branch Santa Cruz. And a lot of those culverts are plugged up and they're not cleaned out by the state, I think is responsible, like ADOT. And it backs up the water and it doesn't flow. So the main thing is, you know, I have concerns about what's happening with that property, with the zoning, and whether that can be checked out, because it really, my road gets flooded and it didn't drain last night. There was water standing across the road. I couldn't walk across the street for, you know, most of the night, because it just wasn't draining. It was really deep. So if it can be checked into to see what is going on with the plans for that property, and if zoning comes up in the future, that's a really critical issue to see about how that property is going to drain if it's developed. So that was what my issue is tonight. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, there was a.
Okay, anybody else like to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public comment portion. We start on our new business. First item, your request by Capital R Construction for a conditional use permit for approximately 895 square foot accessory structure at 1296 East McMurray Circle, and DSA 2500059. And Sam?
All right, good evening, Commissioners, Chair, Vice Chair. It's good to see everybody tonight. Hopefully, we're going to start off real easy here. I've got a request for a conditional use permit, as you said, for the Tompkinson Garage. They were requesting by Capital R Construction for the conditional use permit for approximately 895 square feet, accessory structure at 1296 East McMurray Circle. This is DSA 250059, and I am Samuel Leonard. The applicant is proposing an 895 square foot detached RV garage with a height of approximately 15 feet, 5.5 inches. And the proposed garage exterior finish will match the existing home. You can see this is the existing lot now, and here's what that existing lot will look like once the RV garage has been constructed, or at least this is their proposed plan. So the accessory structure is here. And then, so you've seen these before. These are our criteria for a conditional use permit. The first of those is that the site for the proposed use is adequate in size, topography, and accommodate the use in all that yard, spaces, walls, fences, parking, loading, landscaping are adequate to properly relate. The proposed RV garage meets all city code requirements for detached garage in an R1 zone. The second one is that the site proposed used relates to streets and highways. The proposed garage will not generate any increased traffic volumes. Have no adverse effect upon the abutting property. Staff doesn't feel that there should be a significant adverse effect on the abutting properties, and that the proposed use shall be in conformance with the general plan, and it is. The neighborhoods allows for detached accessory structures. That the conditions in the state our approval are deemed necessary to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare. That's the wrong, but yes, there's So at this time, all criteria has been evaluated and covered within the staff report, and staff finds that all criteria have been met. Public notification has been done in compliance with all of the requirements. Staff did receive one inquiry this morning with concerns about light bleeding from the proposed structure. If it's going to be, let's say they put up a bright light up high on this structure and it bleeds into their backyards. So that was a concern that an adjacent property had. There is not in the plan currently that I noticed any lighting diagram. It's not something that we require. But going forward, that is a genuine concern that we're being good neighbors. So that was brought up. And then at this time, staff recommend that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution DSA 25-00059 for an approximately 895 square foot accessory structure at 1296 East McMurray Circle. And at this time, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Very good, thank you. Commissioners, any questions for staff? Okay, would the applicant or their representative please come forward? Address the commission. Nobody's here, okay. Then we will open the public portion of the meeting for this item. If anybody from the public would like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of for this item and bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like
Yes,
to make
sir.
a motion
That'd be great.
that the commission approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution DSA 25-00059 for the 895 square foot accessory structure at 1296 East McMurray Circle.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Sam, what was the height?
15 feet, 5 inches.
Thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you very much.
good, thank you. Next is a request by Dahl Robbins and Associates on behalf of the Spreckert Gift Trust for Everhome Suites. Zone change, so the general plan DSA 25-0007. And Jim, talk to us.
Good evening, and just for clarification, this is for a major site plan for Everhome
What did I
Suites.
say?
And the request in front of you this evening is to develop a hotel on approximately 2.8 acre site located at the southeast corner of 9th in Colorado. The proposed building would be 3 stories at 35 feet tall, 117 rooms with 119 parking spaces. On the upcoming slides, I'll show you more detail of the site plan. This is an aerial image that shows you the outline of the property that is proposed for development. As you can see, it is right at the corner of Colorado and 9th, just north of More Furniture and the Dollar Tree. This gives you a little bit more close-up detail of the layout of the proposed hotel and the elevations. The property sits within an area zoned B2, which is the city's general business zone. And if you notice on the map, the B2 zoning is that which is colored that pinkish red. There are some other zone districts nearby that site. Due west is a PAD, which is a planned area development, which allows for storage use, non-residential. And then East of Potabom is Lowe's, which is also in a planned area development zone, but its entitlement is for commercial. So generally, everything south of 9th Street has a non-residential designation. I think the real concern about this area is because it is so far north in that B2 area, just on the other side of 9th, you go into the residential zoned areas. You do have a mixture of residential zoning. There is an area to the north that is R3, which is multifamily, and then of course to the northeast at Potabom and 9th is also R3, but other than that, it's a single-family residential neighborhood. In the B2 zone, I have a list of various uses that are considered permitted by right. Among this list are hotels, but any development within the B2 zone district does require the submittal of a major site plan, and that's what's in front of you this evening. And it is subject to specific review criteria associated with the major site plan. Also in the B2, there is a list of uses that could be allowed through the approval of a conditional use permit. That also would require a major site plan, but there's an added layer of review because these specific uses are known to be more sensitive depending on the location. With regard to the major site plan that's in front of you this evening, this is the list of criteria that gets evaluated to determine if it's appropriate to consider approval of the proposed development here. The staff report goes into all of these items, but I'm going to just focus on those that are highlighted because I think these are the most pertinent to the discussion. The first criteria that I want to talk about is the conformance to the city's general plan. So just like with the zoning map that I shared, this area is designated as community corridor in our 2030 general plan. It does support urban type development and a mixture of uses. It does identify properties to be more intense than other general plan designations. It encourages buildings to have a higher floor area ratio than other designations, and it has a list of zone districts that are considered appropriate. B2 is among that. But then again, just on the north side of 9th Street is in the neighborhoods general plan designation. Neighborhoods is more accommodating for single-family residential development. And 9th Street, the center line of 9th, is that divider between community corridor and neighborhoods. And when we receive development requests in areas that are on that border, there is a lot more sensitivity to the use proposed because of the adjacency of a different type of land use. This is another aerial imagery looking to the south where you can see just right where that dividing line is. You have commercial development along Florence, and then you have 9th Street, and then you have the single family area to the north. So to contend with that sensitivity, with the fact that you do just have a street dividing the community corridor area from the neighborhoods area and the B2 area from a single family area, there have been certain site considerations taken into account to help offset some of those impacts. And I was just going to walk through those offsets that are shown on the site plan here. So I've highlighted in green all of their landscape area. The reason why that's important is along 9th, it's a 50-foot landscape buffer. The code required minimum is 15. And so that has been done just to add some additional screening and separation of this site from the street and what lies beyond that. The minimum building setback from residential zoning areas is 45 feet, and I've denoted that on the site plan. This building has been set back 112 feet from the property line, so further from what would ordinarily be permitted by right. And With regard to the next criteria, relationship of the plan elements to conditions both on and off the property, this is just to walk through some additional site features that help illustrate improvements that are going to be associated with the development if it were to get approved. There would be the site's drainage retention needs primarily placed towards the north end of the site. That's why that 50-foot landscape buffer is there between the parking area and 9th. By doing so, by putting the drainage retention needs there, it does again create some additional separation. The setback of the building is 112 feet from 9th, where 45 feet is the minimum. From Colorado Street, the minimum building setback would be 35, but the building is set back a little bit further at 44. There would be a screen wall that would sit between the parking areas in both Colorado and 9th to help shield the glare from parked cars. There would be a 10-foot right-of-way dedication for Colorado Street to help achieve its designation as an 80-foot wide major collector road. 9th Street already has its full required dedication as a minor collector at 60 feet wide. The site plan does identify the trash enclosure towards the south end of the site, so that helps minimize noise from garbage pickup, etc. And there would be site improvements or off-site improvements, including a new sidewalk along 9th and Colorado, as well as street lamps along both those streets that match the street lamps on the opposite sides of both streets. And they also are showing the primary access to the site off of Colorado, but it's placed towards the far south end. There would be another driveway that accesses 9th, but it would be anticipated that the primary driveway used would be via Colorado, because most people entering the site would be coming into it from Florence, turning on to Colorado, and then into the parcel. Another way to help mitigate the impacts is staff is recommending implementing some signage restrictions on the site, and I wanted to walk through that with you. So because this is in the B2 zone, there are certain sign rules that apply for development that pertain to both wall signage that goes on the building itself and freestanding signage. So our sign code would allow signage to go on any elevation that is parallel to a public road. We want to minimize the amount of signage that goes onto that north elevation because it would be within view of the residential area. So should this be approved, the recommended condition would be that wall signage on the north elevation is limited to the first 12 feet of building height and shall not be internally illuminated. With that sign restriction, it would prevent signage from going up along that top band, and so it would help mitigate some of that impact. Ideally, it would be a good situation to have signage on the south elevation so that it can be seen from Florence Boulevard, but the sign code does not allow signage on an elevation that's not immediately parallel to a street. So there is a process by which the applicant can apply for a comprehensive sign plan that can be submitted and considered for approval that would allow for some signage alternatives. So with the restriction of signage on the north elevation, staff would be comfortable to allow signage on the south elevation to where it can be visible from Florence. With regarding freestanding signage, the B2 zoning allows signs of any kind up to a height of 30 feet. So a recommended condition, should this be approved, is that freestanding signage actually be restricted in height quite a bit along 9th to 8 feet and along Colorado to 15, and it shall be monument style signage only versus a pole sign that could be another scenario without implementing that type of condition. The next criteria that I want to talk about is the impact of the plan on existing and anticipated traffic and parking access and pedestrian and vehicular ingress and egress as well. So, as I mentioned on a previous slide, the development, if approved, would involve the construction of public sidewalk along Colorado and on 9th. And they do have 2 points of ingress egress on their property, the primary one being off of Colorado and then one being off of 9th. There was a traffic study prepared by Kimley Horn and revised by, or reviewed rather, by our city's traffic consultant. And it was determined acceptable by our city traffic consultant. Both 9th and Colorado, as well as Potabom south of 9th, are designated as collector roads, which are designed generally to handle trip generation anticipated by the hotel. And they're designed to collect traffic from neighborhoods as well as commercial businesses. And as a collector road, they feed into arterial roads such as Peart and Florence. Hotels usually have a smaller trip generation than retail. And since this is an extended stay hotel, it's likely to have quelled peak demand hours because there isn't the typical check-in and check-out times that are associated with standard stay hotels. Should this site be developed as retail, that would promote drive-through traffic in neighborhoods because it would be a known entity, a commodity that the community wants to get to, and so they would drive to it in any way they were familiar or knew how. The typical behavior of hotel traffic is to stick to the more known arterial and collector roads. The last criteria that I want to talk about, well, or the second to the last, is I'm still actually on the vehicular part, apologize. This is just a close-up of the access points that I've already gone over, but I do want to point out that they would be bringing in a sidewalk into the site from Colorado. It would cross the drive aisle and then be access to the building from the south. The last criteria that I want to talk about is the adequacy of the plan with respect to land use. So as a part of our public outreach process associated with major site plan reviews, staff received a lot of objection to this proposal. And in summary, the contention is that this is just not the right fit at this location. The map that I'm sharing on the left highlights locations of people who provided letters of opposition with respect to this site. And just kind of a summary of the comments, and I understand there's a lot of people in attendance to talk about these issues more specifically, but the primary concerns was traffic increase, lowering of property values, and increase in crime, safety concerns about school children walking to Grande Innovation Academy, which is located on the east side of Peart, north of Home Depot. Occupants of the hotel may be those who weren't successful at passing background checks to live in permanent housing, and so they will locate at this hotel since it offers extended stay. And so that was a concern. And then should they be evicted out of this hotel, then they would be evicted right next to this neighborhood. And then there was a lot of comparison to Siegel Suites, which is an existing extended stay hotel in the city that has many calls of service and does have undesired activity. And the concern is there is not the want for a Siegel Suites in this neighborhood. Staff did ask the police department to provide a reporting of the calls for service received for a variety of hotels between January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. And I ranked them in order of the most calls to service to the least with respect to the number of rooms each hotel has. So technically, Quality Inn had 0.81 calls for service per room. And then the lowest amongst this sampling was Best Western at 0.08. I do want to clarify that calls for service doesn't necessarily mean criminal activity. It could just be, hey, I need police here for whatever reason. But that is telling to see the breakdown of the calls for service for each hotel. The concern about it being very similar to Siegel, I just wanted to offer a little bit of insight or a different perspective, although that is a valid concern. Everhome Suites is part of Choice Hotels, and there is another Choice Hotel product in the community known as Mainstay, which is also an extended stay hotel located off of Hennis Road, just southwest of Palm Creek. And although Mainstay is a 2-story building, whereas Everhome is proposed to be 3 stories, just like Siegel, I think there's a lot more similarity to Mainstay than Siegel, because as you can see, just different samplings of Everhomes throughout different areas of the country and Mainstays, they're all internal accessed. So they have a lobby that people go through to check in. There's not the ability for the general public to go to just any random room. Whereas Siegel Suites is not part of the Choice Hotel brand. It's owned by the Siegel Group out of Las Vegas. And as you can see, a lot of the samplings of their hotels are exterior accessed, or in the case of the upper right picture, it looks actually very similar to the layout here in Casa Grande. That does look to be interior access, but it's more sprawling. It's more of a compound type layout. And here's a picture of the existing Siegel Suites in Casa Grande. Just basically, Mainstay Suites has 71 rooms on just shy of 2 acres, and it was constructed in 2006. Everhome is proposed to be 46 more rooms on a larger lot, but when comparing the two of those hotels to Siegel, there's 363 more rooms than what Everhome is proposing. It's on a much larger site. And again, it's exterior accessed, and it was approved and construction began in 2006, the same year as Mainstay. Mainstay has maintained the same name and has been fairly consistent in terms of its appearance, whereas there has been a lot of opinion that Siegel has declined over time. Regarding the public notification, there was notice sent out to owners of property within 500 feet back in April, advising that this application had been submitted and it's under review. We invited comments to be received. Due to the number of comments and the concerns that were expressed, there was a neighborhood meeting scheduled, and that was held on May 29th. It was well attended with 24 people who signed in. There were probably more but didn't sign. And there was just a lot of concerns expressed, and you'll probably hear that this evening as well. And then on June 17th, the notice of this meeting was mailed, and then there was a sign posted on the site as well as a newspaper publication. And I had already highlighted some of the concerns, but again, just this just captures the bulk of the comments that were received. But staff does recommend that Planning Commission move to approve this, but subject to these 4 conditions pertaining to a parcel split that would be required, and that a map of dedication for Colorado Street would have to occur, and then also the restrictions that I discussed regarding wall signage and freestanding signage, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Jim, I have a question for you.
Commissioners,
Yep, I do. The south side of the property, where you can see that truck right there, What kind of fencing are they thinking of back in there? Because I was by there today, and where all those trees are, there was probably 15 shopping carts and 4 tents of people living back there. So I'm just, is that, those trees are all part of that piece that would be going?
I believe most of the trees are on the shopping center side, but there may
Okay.
be a few that cross over onto this property proposed for development.
Because they'll have some sort of block wall back there, I'm assuming, between them and the parking lot of the buildings to the south?
So the applicant is here and he can
Okay.
talk about that. I want to, and I should know that answer.
I'm just-
Ordinarily, there would be a 6-foot block wall, but they can confirm that.
Got it.
Okay. Any other questions
On the
for staff?
commercial side.
Jim, the illumination, I think there was some statistics about what they're proposing for their lights. Can you tell us anything about that? Am I wrong, or what?
So, Mr. Chairman, they did provide a photometric plan,
Yep.
and we do review that to ensure that it meets our light control standards. So the parking lot light poles would have to be shielded with full cutoff, so that you can't see the light source. And then any wall-mounted lights would have to have a shield on them. But the photometric plan did not show that there was bleed of light onto adjacent properties.
I've got
Yes,
another
go ahead.
question. On that property, over the year, obviously it's been vacant forever. In the last 10 years or so, has there been any activity of any other type of somebody wanting to submit something for that property? Like a church or like a whatever, some of the other choices on the B2, has there been any interest in that property at all?
There was probably about 3 or 4 years ago, a pre-application meeting held with a colleague of mine to pursue the possibility of developing that area for multifamily. But it didn't make it to an application submittal.
Okay.
It was more, I don't even know if it was a quote-unquote pre-app, but a discussion on the steps that would have to occur to entitle that property for a multifamily use.
The infill lots are hard to get folks to make decisions on, especially in that, if you're developing the second street off your main street, it's going to be a lot of, okay, thank you.
Very good.
I have a
Yes.
question. Jim, how tall is the Moore building?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
I had a feeling you were going to ask that, and even despite that, I didn't look it up. It's not 35 feet, I can tell you. If I had to just take a shot in the dark, my guess is it's probably about between 20 and 24 feet. It does have high ceilings in there.
Okay, thanks.
Commissioners, any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, we'll go regular process with the applicant or their representative. Please come forward and address the commission. Please give us your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. Alex Feldman with Choice Hotels. Address is 915 Meeting Street, North Bethesda, Maryland, 20852.
Very good. Anything you'd like to present to us?
Well, we appreciate the commission's consideration. We put many, many hours of research and work and energy into this project. We're very enthusiastic about it. We think it'll be a wonderful addition to the community. We're very excited and look forward to moving towards the next steps. That said, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. So there's a question about the wall?
About the back, the south side wall there, by the trees. So it's going to go from parking spaces to the retention area to the wall, and that's kind of the back?
So there's not currently a wall design for that back area. There is a little bit of an elevation change because there's some drainage that we have there. That said, we do find with sites that typically have homeless problems, once that we come in, start construction, people tend to clear out of these areas, and especially once we open, our staff, number 5 to 10, depending on the day, regularly walk these areas, the whole hotel and the parking lot. They keep a tight eye on everything. It's part of their daily checklist, so that's something we can track very closely.
So where they turn in off of Colorado, then that's just going to be just something real small on the south side of where they turn in off the street to come into the property?
Is this the south border between?
South side still. Where they come in off of Colorado down there in the bottom left-hand corner?
Yeah, there will just be, I might have to tap in one of our engineers who's here, but
I'm just curious what it's going to look like flowing into
I believe it'll just be a small patch of land, but he will confirm.
Good evening, Commissioners. Christopher Robbins, Dahl Robbins and Associates, 1560 South Fifth Avenue, Yuma, Arizona.
Thank you.
We're the civil engineer on the project. Along the south side of this project, it's about a 15-foot wide landscaped retention basin.
Okay.
No wall, no requirement for a wall.
Okay. I just wanted to
I'm not
check.
sure what purpose it would serve, but
I'm just wondering how it's going to flow into the parking lot. that's all.
it should,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Usually
We want to eliminate what's back there now.
Right. And usually we find, I don't know, sometimes you install a wall and it becomes a canvas for
Well,
graffiti.
Yeah, that's why I'm, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And quite a few or several conditions for approval and presented to us. Are those all acceptable?
They are.
Good? Okay. Good with that.
I got a question.
Yes, please.
Can you, a lot of the contention is the crime. Can you kind of explain some of your other products and whether you notice that happening, maybe in different areas of the state or different states? Is that something that happens?
Unfortunately, more and more recently, it's something we see more. To us, it's not a matter of if it happens, whether it's homeless or crime or any sorts of those things. It's really how we deal with it. Whether it's at a hotel or a Starbucks or a Panera, or a Home Depot, these things tend to happen in public spaces like that where people are coming in and out. Hotels more so, especially sometimes. How we deal with the problem, we have tight security at our property. Like I said, we have people 24/7 that are on site during the day, several more people than at night, but the hotel is always staffed. We have interior, exterior cameras, so we can keep an eye on everything. A person at the front desk who's there during the night will have their eye on that and access to that. And all of our exterior doors have locks on them, so nobody who shouldn't be there can come into the building.
And then just one more question about the folks that plan to use the hotel. Are they there for typically long periods of time, or are they 3 to 6 months, or just kind of, what do you typically see?
Yeah, it's a mix. We're certainly an extended stay hotel, but people can come in, stay a night if they'd like to. Some people can stay 4 weeks or months. We accept all sorts of guests.
Okay.
Yes, Cortez.
Just out of curiosity, what was the appeal for this particular location? And did you consider any other alternative locations in Casa Grande?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a pretty rigorous site selection process. So we looked at just under a year trying to find other properties in the area to develop. But the important things that it comes down to is, appropriate zoning and all the other various code and zoning requirements. The site size and orientation works out for what we need, and somebody who owns the property that's willing to sell to us at a price that works for the project. Ultimately, we had a couple of deals that we worked on that we got in and out of contract, but eventually we settled on this site.
Thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Yes.
So on the south end where the trees are right now that do not butt they butt the property but not on your property, we do have a homeless problem, and they do stay in that area, plus like in the Lowe's area. Since that's not on your property, there's nothing you could really do, even if you're canvassing, correct?
I'm sorry, that last
Even
part.
if you're canvassing the property, if they're not.
We can monitor it. It's not on our property. I don't think legally there's anything that we
That's what I
could
was
do about
wondering.
it, but we would keep an eye on it. If we saw a crime being committed or something not
Right,
looking good,
right.
we would alert the authorities, even if it wasn't on our property.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. So now I would like to open a public portion of the meeting for this item. Anybody that would like to address this issue, please come forward and keep your comments to 3 minutes. Please try not to repeat what somebody else has already said. Greatly appreciate it.
Hi, I just had a quick question.
Give us your name and address, please.
My name is Lorinda Alavira. I live at 1394 East 10th Place in Acacia Landing. When we had the meeting on May 29th, we asked about security, and they said that they wouldn't be providing security, but now they're saying they're going to have security, so we just want a clarification of what the plan is for security.
Okay, we'll work on that. Thank you. Go ahead.
My name's Abby Johnson. I own the home at 1359 East 9th Place. I live there alone. The only thing separating me from this halfway house hotel is a 5-foot wall. I feel endangered by it. I read their reviews on Everhome Suites. Homeless people in the parking lot, drug deals, drug use, tons of calls for service. Their landmark in Corona, California has dropped their property values for 3 years since they put it up. It has never recovered. They're getting 17 police calls a day, every day, if not more. That's the minimum. It doesn't meet the architecture of our neighborhood at Acacia Landing. We all have clay tile roofs, southwestern colors. More importantly, most of us have 1-story houses, some 2. A 3-story gargantuan building. The second and third floors are going to look directly into my yard, directly into my windows. I work at night. I have dogs. I'm in my backyard a lot. I feel that this is a danger to our safety. The corporate, whatever, the guy that was just up here, told us point blank they will not have security on site and did not give a lick about our safety concerns the last time we were here during public comments. I'm also concerned with all the breathing problems in our neighborhood, COPD, emphysema, asthma, you name it. That's going to put off, their AC and HVAC is going to put off so much carbon dioxide and pollution into our neighborhood that we're going to breathe. Choice Hotels is the only major hotel chain that failed to try to meet net zero on their pollution goals. All the other chain hotels are driving at net zero. Choice Hotels is not. They also use more than 8 times the water of the entire city. Their fans run constantly, and a 3-story building does not belong 50 feet from my house. It does not, especially with that clientele, with 24/7 comings and goings. A nice church, office building, doctor's office, that belongs 50 feet from my yard. This does not. There are no other 3-story buildings in eyesight. I can go stand on that lot, look in all directions. There's no hotels. There's no 3-story buildings. The first one is Sun Life down by I-10 in Florence. That's where this type of facility belongs, where there's infrastructure, restaurants, gas stations. There's nothing to offer here, and there's nothing to benefit us. It would benefit the businesses that already cater to the hotels in the hotel zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your input.
Good afternoon. My name is Beatrice Lewick. I'm the owner of Rocks Real Estate, and we represent the buyers on this project. Our address is 1923 North Treckle Road in Casa Grande. Dallas Giddens, the owner of Giddens Tire Pros, wrote a letter to the editor, and he is unable to be here today, so he asked me if I would read this for the commission. On July 3rd, there will be a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to discuss the proposed building on the corner of Colorado and 9th Street. This is an amazing project that is much needed in our community. The extended stay hotel will bring a needed addition to the other similar facilities of Casa Grande. I've watched this vacant land sit for the past 30 years and have seen how bad it looks when the unattended weed and vegetation growth gets out of hand. The property has trash buildup and unwanted homeless encampments come and go. The proposed building is a much better look than the back of a shopping center building directly south of the site. I have heard the opponents' arguments on traffic, prostitution, and noise. The fact that people could see in my backyard. There is an apartment complex on Colorado west of Acacia Landing, and the homes behind them outnumber the 4 to 6 homes that are on the cul-de-sac backing up to 9th Street. We need this to go forward. It will help give future investors a positive look at the cooperation the city and community have for growth. I believe I am the only one that has a commercial property close to this project and am in full support of this. Many of you forgot that this was here long before Acacia Landing and has been zoned for these kinds of projects. Lowe's is backed up to 9th also and has a lot of traffic come in off the road onto Potabom. Accept this change and help Casa Grande become the city we will always know that has our best interest in mind. I am pro-growth for our community. Signed, Dallas Giddens. I would also like to address the comments about homeless people staying here. If you're there for 30 days at $50 a night, it's $1,500 a month. Have you stayed in a $50 a night hotel? I doubt they exist. If you stay at a $100 hotel, it's $3,000 a night, $3,000 a month. If it's $150 a night, it's $4,500 a night. These are business professionals, contractors, construction workers who will be staying at this type of property while they're here on job assignments. They have the revenue resources. They are not homeless. They don't rent hotels by the hour for prostitution and drug activity. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Hi. I'm Sebastian Maxim. I live in 1379 East 9th Place in Acacia Landing. I understand that when a city grows, the line between commercial and residential zones is often blurred. I don't believe this is a bad thing. In fact, I think it's fantastic. It encourages spending, provides people with easy access to jobs, creates potential for youth to have activities other than stealing booze or getting high at the skate park, among other things. However, I think it's very important to consider what goes where. I find it troublesome and odd that we are putting one of these in the middle of town. I'm not a travel agent, but I don't think Casa Grande is on anyone's list of places to go for a good time. For those of you who may disagree, when's the last time you knew someone who was frothing from the mouth at the prospect of going to see Neon Sign Park? We are a commuter town. If you don't believe me, if you want to do anything reliably and immediately for fun, you have about 3 choices. We got Harkins, a Peter Piper Pizza, and a bowling alley that's out of commission. All 3 of which can be found in other metropolitan areas. It's not going to attract snowbirds either, which would be a demographic for people to show up. I think they would much rather live in 55-plus communities, and even if it did, I don't think we should encourage them. Our local businesses already struggle enough in the off-season, and we should work towards obtaining more permanent residents to mitigate that. Beyond that, I don't think we should cater to an aging population that is, putting it bluntly, dying off, with no clear replacement in the market. Going to a dumpy town in the middle of Arizona to escape the cold is becoming less and less appealing due to future generations, mostly due to the rise of home entertainment. If you don't believe me, you can look at the way those industries skyrocketed during the COVID pandemic when everyone was stuck inside. The only options for potential customers are people who are working and individuals visiting their families, along with people who are less fortunate. The only long-term benefit that I can visualize for the city is squeezing more sales tax out of those who are down on their luck, which isn't very efficient and hardly, if at all, addresses the problems that we face. In addition, it can as it's been mentioned before, can encourage organized crime. While it's not the prime target for drug dealing as it's a mid-range hotel, it is still a concern as Arizona frequently outperforms their neighbors in drug seizures. Also, human trafficking is a concern. I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. I guess that's it. Can I keep going?
Just for a couple seconds.
For a couple seconds, just one paragraph. Most people believe they go their entire lives without seeing a crime, but the harsh reality is that much of it occurs in plain sight. Many nonprofits and government agencies estimate that much, and sometimes even the majority of human trafficking occurs in hotels of all income levels. Obviously, this is a concern considering the organized crime issues that Arizona faces and has faced for the last 40 or so years. And that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Chair and members of the Commission. My name is James Stillwell. I live at 1479 East 11th Street in Acacia Landing, just steps away from the proposed site. I'm here tonight as a concerned neighbor asking for you to deny this request for an extended stay hotel that's adjacent to our residential community. Extended stay hotels are fundamentally different from traditional hotels. They often serve as temporary housing for transient guests, some staying for weeks or even months. This change in character brings with it significant concerns, especially when placed next to a stable residential neighborhood like ours. But let me be clear, I'm not opposed at all for development on this site. A traditional hotel, a well-managed apartment complex, either could be very well and appropriate on this property. But the extended stay hotel brings a very different set of impacts that are simply not compatible with the family-oriented residential setting. We don't have to speculate about that. We have precedent. Look at Siegel Suites. The representative from ROCS, who has a financial stake in this matter, made statements about Siegel. Those same statements were made when Siegel was in front of this commission. Look what's happened. Despite the promises of the professional oversight, many of these properties become long-term problem areas, drawing frequent police activity, contributing to neighborhood decline. It's a real risk, and once built, it's incredibly difficult to reverse. We see that with Siegel. Safety and security are our top concerns. Our neighborhood is home to families, children, and retirees. Introducing a high-turnover, quasi-residential commercial operation will strain the peaceful environment we've worked so hard to maintain. Traffic and congestion will inevitably rise, especially during the off hours. Extended stay facilities operate 24/7, with guests coming and going at all times of the day and night, unlike your traditional apartments or hotels that tend to have more predictable patterns. And then finally, as mentioned, property values and neighborhood stability are on the line. Placing this type of development next to single-family homes is inconsistent with good planning, and it undermines long-term community investment. There are plenty of appropriate places for extended stay lodging in this city, but it's not next to homes, parks, and schools. Please stand with the residents who care deeply about our community. Please deny this request. Help us preserve the safety, character, and future of our neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Stillwell. I live at 1479 East 11th Street in Acacia Landing. I apologize if my voice is a little quivering. I wasn't planning on speaking today. I was just going to listen. Like the rest of my neighbors, I don't want this, but I was going to let them do the talking. There's something that really bothered me. This is going to be a Siegel Suites. We know that. Siegel Suites had 375 calls in a year. They want to say, well, let's get it down to a percentage by room. It's less than other places. No. This is an area, again, with parks, children, schools. Do we want this many calls in our neighborhood? We have a person from Bethesda, Maryland, coming to Casa Grande and admitting, yes, this will bring in crime. Not if, but when. If this is something you truly feel that we need in our town, invite it into your backyard. I don't believe Dallas lives in Acacia Landing. Invite it into his backyard. How many states, counties, cities between Bethesda, Maryland, and Casa Grande are there where it can go in their backyards where people want it? But we don't want this. We don't want that chance. We don't want to hear it won't be an if or a when. We say no, no when. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Craig McFarland. I live at 152 West Auburn Sky Court here in Casa Grande. And I've been in your position on many of these types of hearings. And I'm here to advise you that this is really an application for a major site plan. And what the city needs and what the community needs is some of these long-term stay locations. We have a landowner who wants to sell. We have a developer who wants to build in a piece of dirt that's been sitting there for 30 years. It's in the correct spot. It's in the right land use. It's zoned properly. We have 2,500 employees at Lucid who can't find a place to stay. We have 500 more coming with the next 1 million square foot of warehouse that they're building, that they have started construction for their smaller sedan. So with that, with Kohler, with all of the industry we have here in Casa Grande, we need places for people to stay. Now, we have a lot of apartments that have come online, and this is a short-term stay location. It's zoned properly. It'll clean up that whole backside, and I believe that the lighting and the activity will eliminate the homeless activity that's going on over there now, which is a problem. We have a homeless issue here in Casa Grande. Mark knows about it as much as any of us in terms of the things that I have personally tried to do in terms of that issue. And so I would ask you to approve this. I am in support of it, and I'm here to ask for your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I live at 1374 East 10th Place. I've been there for 23 years. Both my girls were born in that community. That's all they know. We stayed because it was quiet, because it was safe. What's coming to the community, what I'm going to ask everyone here that has children, if you want what what they're bringing to the community, if you think it's going to help your children, it's going to bring crime, it's going to bring everything that everyone has said here. I'm standing here to say no to this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Delsey. I live at 1322 East 12th Street in Acacia Landing. I'm also opposed to this, but I'd also like to point out that the representative that's here said that they considered other sites, but when we were here on May 29th, I asked him specifically if they had looked at other sites, and he told me no. That this was basically the best financial option, and that's what they went with. So if he's now been dishonest about 2 issues, I just would question what else they'll be dishonest about after the project is complete. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Matt Harrington, 308 East Wiley Way, Casa Grande. I'm here on behalf of the owner. He does live out of state, so he's not able to attend. But he's owned this land since 2005. And one of the primary reasons he purchased it was because of the zoning. And he sat on it for many, many years. He went under contract with the applicant in November of 2024. And it's been a long, almost 8 months. But the primary reason he did it was because of the zoning and the permitted use that was coming, hotels. So for him to somewhat be denied for this, what does that signal to other investors or landowners that have a certain zoning and it were to be denied? So I just ask that you look at what's permitted as far as the city codes and accept this for both sides. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Hello. Excuse me. My name is Melinda Ray Burrows. I live at 930 North Hillary Court in Acacia Landing, and I've lived there since 2008. I'd like to visit today a little bit about, we've heard a lot about the land use, but as I understand it, that the land use and the business coming in cannot jeopardize or negatively affect the property values of the existing community. The flagship, Corona, California, and I've provided tons of graphics and also studies to show what I'm speaking of right now. Corona, California, their crime rate went through the roof. The property was an existing building, and it had 0 to little crime rate, which you can see on the photos that I've provided. When Evermore took it over, it went from having basically 0 crime rate to, as somebody else had already said, up to 17 calls a day. This is the only community that we could find that butted up against an actual community rather than out on the freeway. Those neighborhoods took a nosedive. You can check on Zillow. I've also provided the graphics. From the time that the Evermore opened, it just sunk. Some of those have still not recovered. Most of them have not recovered. The crime rate, the property values of having it right there have negatively affected that entire area. Because it only opened in 2022, and this is a relatively new product for them, that's the information that we have to go on. So that's what we did. I called the Glendale Evermore today, and I know somebody had said that it's going to be $3,000 a month. No, it isn't. They're renting it out at $19.50 a month, I believe it is. Let me double check that, which is still a lot of money. Okay. However, the oversaturation of vacant apartment units and units in Casa Grande is going to leave this project probably completely vacant for a very long time because their $1,900 a month is versus Siegel Suites, which was, I'm wanting to say it was $1,190, I think, and there's open units at Siegel Suites right now. So if anybody is going to need an extended stay, they're going to choose the lower option. They're going to choose the Siegel Suites. And all this vacant land is really causing an issue with everybody's property values, not just us in Acacia Landing. The more property that we have that's vacant, everybody's property values are lowering. This is not a good idea for this specific, at this specific time. And I realize that they've had this property for 30 years. I bought knowing that that's commercial property, and we don't want the crime, and it will negatively affect us. And I think that's something you guys should consider. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Kelly Harrington, 308 East Wiley Way, Casa Grande. I just want to put a personal perspective as when I was growing up, I moved and lived in 6 different states from the time I was born until high school. And there were some times when my dad got transferred for his job, we had to stay in extended stays because our house wasn't ready or we were still looking for a house. And so not all these people that you think are going to stay in an extended stay are bad. They are families. They are people who work. And I think there's this negative
annotation that I wouldn't want to stay in a Seagull Suites. So yeah, our family would pick probably a more safe option that's near a neighborhood, near a Lowe's, near things like that, nature. And I think this will attract a higher caliber of person and families. And I think the fear, there's that fear monger, but I do believe that their intent is to attract a higher caliber person. So I just wanted to point that out as someone who has stayed in these growing up. You want to pick the one that's a little bit better. And I think that this is good for our community. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Great, thank you.
Hello, my name is Simone St. Pierre Maxim. I live at 1379 East 9th Place. I've been there since 2005, so I'm original owner of the home in the community. You know, my primary concern is, of course, crime, yes, what it'll eventually draw, and it's like someone else had previously said, it's not a matter of, it's a matter of when it will happen. You know, and of course there's good people that stay in places like that, and there's bad people too that don't make good choices. My primary concern would be the crime that it possibly would bring, but my number one concern would be children that are, quite a few of them walk down 9th Street to go home from school and to school in the morning. So Grand Innovations Academy, as you know, is right down the street on Pert Road, right behind Home Depot there. And there's a large number of students that live in Acacia Landing. So all it takes is one child. I worked at Valago Middle School for 10 years, and all it takes is one child to be afflicted by trafficking or crime or drugs or whatever that may be, you know, and that could be anybody and anywhere in any community, but places like that are, they're known to attract negative crowds. So that would be a concern, is imagine if it was your child or someone you loved that was affected by something like that from a community that is in your neighborhood. So, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Maxim. I live at 1379 East 9th Place. Somebody mentioned intent, that their intent is to not allow crime or not have crime or whatever it is. I get that. That's intent. It's not reality. Somebody mentioned price. $50 a night, $100 a night, $150 a night. Great. It's a lot of money. Not the drug cartels, which is what's probably going to end up being there. Not necessarily the drug cartels, but the people they work for, who work for them. I get it. People come through town and they stay here for Lucid or for whatever or anything like that, then put it by Lucid. If that's what you're worried about, if that's what you think this is going to do, put up Extended Stay Hotel by Lucid. You know, put it there. That way they don't have to drive to work. Two great things. One, they have a place to stay. Two, it saves the environment a little bit more because you're not driving 20 miles to go to work. You know, I don't envy your position. I know you guys have to make hard decisions and you have to listen to the community complain about what you guys are trying to do to improve the community. I understand that. I just hope that you stop and think about how it would affect your life if it was in your backyard or your children. I've lived in my home for 20 years. My wife, who just spoke, moved in there in 2005 while I was deployed. And that's the only home my sons have ever known. I have 22-year-old twin boys. They moved there. She moved with them when they were about 18 months old. That's the only home they've known. Everyone in this room has a financial stake, at least back here, has a financial stake. Not just the hotel, not Choice Hotels or anything like that, or Rocks. We all have a financial stake because of the property value, because of the crime, because of this or because of that or whatever it is. We don't have enough police force as it is to take care of the city of Casa Grande. Why would we want to invite more crime to a quiet, nice neighborhood? I moved here from Phoenix 20 years ago and bought a house in Casa Grande because I liked the community. It was quiet. It was a bedroom community, whatever you want to call it. It was a nice family town. I don't understand why we would even consider inviting what could potentially be a major crime area or crime place. Not intent, but potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Appreciate hearing from you. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public portion for this item and bring it back to the commission. Yes, sir.
I just have a quick question for staff. I don't know if they're... So come January, this commission will not be hearing major site plans anymore, correct? In compliance with ARS?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff is currently working on a code revision based on new state law that was signed by the governor. Actually, you're to be hearing about it in August.
Okay.
But that's true. If you have existing zoning in place, site plans will be reviewed administratively.
Okay, thank you.
As opposed to going before the commission.
All right, thank you. And so kind of going on top of that.
I was just going to say, explain.
Well, I guess if you want to have it explained first.
Yes,
if you could explain it.
Yeah, please.
Explain it? No.
The state law recently changed, and we have until the end of the year to update our codes.
Right.
Currently, City of Casa Grande requires a major site plan to go before the Planning and Zoning Commission for approval. The state has passed a law saying that site plans shall be reviewed and approved administratively by staff, essentially.
Okay, I knew that. Okay. I thought I missed something.
And so I understand that a lot of people see that as the state kind of taking power out of the community's hand and their ability to comment on things. But I think this case really provides a good example as to why the state did that, because this property owner has B2 zoning. They are permitted to do the hotel use. They don't have it's not a conditional use. They are permitted by right to do that use as long as they meet all the standards of our code. They are currently showing they meet all the standards of our code. Our process currently, it created those neighborhood meetings and things like that as part of a major site plan, and for it to come before us to kind of provide additional comment to get something that's closer to working with that neighborhood. I think staff has already done a really great job of ensuring that those additional conditions that they're requiring make this more compatible with the neighborhood. And then additionally, what the applicant's already proposing as far as the landscaping and everything like that, it's going to provide a pretty good screen. Obviously, that stuff's going to take a while to grow because they're plants. But once they do grow, they'll provide a pretty good screen for a 35-foot tall building. And so since they are currently entitled to that, and we're only here in a major site plan, we are very limited in our scope as to what we can do, and our decision cannot be considered arbitrary and capricious, because if it is, the property owner can challenge it. Obviously, they would have to appeal it to city council, and then if city council were to deny it, then they can challenge it legally and go in front of a judge and say, this commission or this council made a decision that was arbitrary and capricious and took from me. And so what that would be, we would be taking, it'd be a violation of their Fifth Amendment right. It'd be a takings on them. We are taking something, the permitted use that they're already currently allowed to do. We are taking that right from them with no just compensation. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. Were we to deny a site plan and then it be appealed to council and they deny that, we would be taking something from a property owner. This property owner currently has the right to do a hotel on this property as long as they meet all of the standards of our code. They currently are showing they're meeting all of those standards of the code. We are very limited in our ability to deny this, because we're not talking about the use, we're talking about the site plan. The use has already been determined as appropriate based on the zone. And so we're looking solely at the physical design of this. So if there's anything additional that I think this commission could look at, I would love to hear it as to how we can make this site better. But as far as the use, we're very limited. And so I'll leave it there.
Great, thank you.
That is your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't own it right now. I mean, it's for sale.
But the property owner has B2 zoning.
He does,
But
but
he
there's
does.
there's a lot of other things in that zoning that he can do with that property,
100%.
not just hotels.
But he wants to do that.
Yeah, but there's an absolute reason that there is a public process today, and I would hope that the city considers the fact that they should incorporate some sort of ordinance to provide that same public process moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
So-
Could,
No.
so could Mark weigh in on this?
What's the question?
Whether it would, if we were to deny something and this, even council, a property owner would have the ability to go to a judge to appeal our decision because they believe their property, there was a takings.
Well, if you guys deny it, they could appeal to city council. And then if city council denies it, then yes, they could take it to a court.
If our reason
simple.
is
Okay.
baseless,
Yeah,
correct?
I mean, but they could.
Okay.
I mean, people can sue for, you know,
Anything.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you. That's,
Yeah, I'm trying to provide the other side. That's
okay,
it.
you're on.
Well,
This is your.
it's really unfortunate that Siegel has ruined the extended stay, situation for the city. Because had they not been there, had we not seen the crime numbers, that just really bothers folks. And I have a real hard time with the fact that we have a lot of public comment and a lot of people in the community that don't feel like this product fits this location. So, and I think that there's absolutely, if it were a multifamily product, if it were apartments, it makes perfect sense, but it just doesn't fit in this location.
It doesn't
Okay,
fit.
thank you. Thank
I agree with Celeste.
Okay,
It
please.
doesn't, it just doesn't fit. I don't see why you would want a hotel behind, normally they face major arterial roads or by the freeway. This doesn't make sense where they're putting it at all. I don't get it.
No.
I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Gentlemen?
Yeah, and it may not make sense, but the property owners, that's what they're choosing to do with their property. The property owner has a right to do that with their property. And if we were to line item their permitted uses and say, no, you can't do this one, it's still a takings. And so that's where, even though they are other permitted uses, we can't permit them from not doing a permitted use.
Thank you.
That's your opinion. It's
Backed by,
good, yeah.
it's backed by.
Jim,
the
can you
fact.
bring up the other uses
Yeah.
that could be done on the property in B2 zone?
Look there.
There they are.
They're not lining up to do it.
They are lining up to do it, but it doesn't.
But even if they're not lining up to do it, there's still extra space, just east of the place that, of this property. And do we really need a 3-story building right here? It's gonna overlook the other building more. It just doesn't make sense. It's a good concept, it just doesn't make sense at this spot. In this spot, it doesn't make any sense at all. It's the roads, if it was by where Texas Roadhouse is, whatever hotel that is, that's 2 lanes each way. It has perfect incoming and outgoing, access to Florence, to the highway, everything. I don't get this at all. There's no good access to leave. you know? It doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Okay, good. Did you want to say something, Ms. Van Hyden?
No. I've seen, do a lot of traveling, and I've seen a lot of developments like this on the secondary street behind the main street. It starts somewhere, and that's what happens. The secondary street starts to develop, so I don't have a problem with it, personally.
Okay.
I just wish it was something else.
Go ahead.
I just wish it was something else, that's all.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Even apartments, because there's those fourplexes across the street, that would be compatible. And there's a school down the street, it's just very busy. Just,
Not to mention that the road floods, you
It
know.
does.
The water flows down Colorado, and there's no consideration for the fact that drainage is a problem, so.
There's 2 large basins on the site.
Okay.
So it deals with theirs, which is what
Their
they're required
own
to.
retention, but not. of
They
the
can't solve
fact-
the city problems. That's
Yeah.
the city's problem. We
I-
can't require a developer to do that.
no, true.
Yeah, but they should be collecting their half street too.
They are making improvements, right? They're dedicating that additional.
You come from the planner's perspective.
I'm just trying to get your point, and then his point, and just, if we're interrupting each other, we can't hear each
Hear.
other. That's all I'm.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. I think you know how I
you're
feel.
good with that?
Yes.
Yes,
Question, in regards to the actual zoning, the B2 zoning, it had hotels listed. Any kind of hotel?
Yes.
So therein lies the problem. Right?
100%.
That's what needs to be corrected. How would we get that corrected? Or who makes that decision?
We can't because that's part of B2.
Not us. I'm just saying who.
So if you're asking if
No.
the city can go
Right,
about,
the council would have to, I'd
but you,
ask Mark to change the definitions within the.
Right, yeah,
zoning.
if a text amendment to the code would have to run through the process as any other text amendment does, which it would come to you guys first. You would provide a recommendation to council, and council would ultimately approve any text amendments that are provided to them. So if you wanted to change, if we were to change definitions, things like that, that would be the process.
Okay. Thank you. So that's what really needs to happen. Eliminate this going in the future.
Okay.
and I'll jump on that.
Go ahead, Garrett.
And I don't think that'll ever happen, mainly because if the city were to amend our code and remove a use that people are already entitled to, again, it's a takings. We can't just amend our zoning code and remove a use from a zone that you already have. You have that zone, it's part of the code, you are entitled to that use. The only way you can give that up is if you consent to that. And so a property owner with B2, if you have a use permitted, why would you ever consent to the city taking that away from you? It would devalue your property. And so it wouldn't make any sense for a property owner with B2 zoning to consent to the city taking away a use from them. And so I don't see an amendment to the code like that ever happening, just because I don't see any property owner willingly giving up value.
I don't think that's the question before us at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
It's an interesting discussion, but right now, we have the code in front of us.
And it
right?
allows it.
And so, and we have this request in front of us. So I don't want to, I don't want to squelch the discussion about this.
Yeah.
We want to hear what your thoughts are and everybody's thoughts are on this.
I'm still a believer that somebody has a piece of property, they have a right to sell that piece of property as long as it follows the codes that are set forth in front of the city, and we have to go along with those codes as a commission, and we also have a duty to sit and listen to public comments also, and take into consideration their feelings, and after the fact, then collectively, we will make a decision based on, I don't want your personal feelings or just your personal feelings to enter into it. we're guided by these guidelines, and I think that's what we have to follow. So 30 years this place has been sitting vacant as a dirt lot, and there's an opportunity here to functionalize that empty lot, whereas the city is going to get tax income from it. And a lot of speculation on will there be a lot of crime in that area? That's still strictly speculation.
Okay, okay, thank you.
That's it.
I'm good.
Okay, we all good? All right. Guess what I need? Guess what our next step is, commissioners?
Sure, I'd like to make a motion.
Be great.
I would like to make a motion to approve major site plan for Everhome Suites DSA 25-00007 with the attached conditions.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Peter, second.
It was Mark.
I did.
Mark, okay.
Second.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith?
No.
Member Aldred?
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden?
Yes.
Member Hubbard?
No.
Member Peters?
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza?
No.
Chairman Benedict?
Seriously.
Yep.
Been a lot of good discussion on this issue, and a lot of good concerns, about what the usage, what might happen with this usage. And, but it's been pointed out, and it's something that I've always talked about, that you can do with your property what you would like to do, as long as it fits. We set up these rules. As long as it fits these rules, then you need to be able to do what you need to do with your property. With that, I vote yes. So it passes.
We vote for you guys, not the out-of-state people who come and buy and sell land. We are property values and our rights, and we'll vote about it. Also, they're gonna change our vote.
My job.
You guys don't care about your residents and property at all. Get some money, get out money. Shame on you. Shame, 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 shame.
One more time, come on. Okay.
Yeah, they can do that. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Maybe 10, but at least 5.
We were, yeah.
You guys did, this was.
down.
Okay, we ready? We're on a request from Emma Baressa? Oh, I should know that better. For a conditional use permit for convenience food restaurant Wiener Schnitzel at 1150 East Florence Boulevard, DSA 2500062. Sam's back on.
All right, good evening again. So yes, Wiener Schnitzel, DSA 2500062. We're here to hold a public hearing and consider a request by Emma Baraka for a conditional use permit for a convenience food restaurant, a Wiener Schnitzel, located at 1150 East Florence Boulevard, near the northeast corner of East Florence Boulevard and North Amarillo Street. Here I have a quick overview of the preliminary site plan. I want to be upfront and say that this is a conditional use permit. It also has a minor site plan. Minor site plans are generally reviewed and approved administratively, so that is still in the process. But tonight I'm here for the conditional use permit. Quick overview, the proposed project consists of the development of a new Wiener Schnitzel restaurant on a portion of the property located at 1150 East Florence Boulevard. This property is zoned B2, and in the B2 zone district, convenience food restaurants require an approved conditional use permit. A convenience food restaurant is generally defined as a restaurant whose primary source of service is take and go. So this is your fast food restaurants, anything that you kind of order at the counter and take out to eat with you. The architectural design that they are proposing will reflect Wiener Schnitzel's modern prototype. We will not be getting one of the big yellow barn-looking ones, unfortunately, with the complementing the surrounding commercial developments along Florence Boulevard. And here's what that's going to look like. So the image on the top, that will be the side facing Florence Boulevard. The bottom issue will be the facing into the parking lot. They have offered to provide a comprehensive landscape plan as part of their minor site plan, and it will feature low water use desert adapted plants, decorative ground cover, shade trees, and water conservation practices. This landscaping will be placed along the perimeter, the parking lot, and around the building to soften the built environment. The city is also asking for approximately 22 feet, 22 feet of right-of-way along Florence Boulevard that they are currently willing to dedicate. So here is where this location will be. The street running north there is Amarillo. The street across the bottom, east and west, is going to be Florence Boulevard. Here it is from another angle. We're really getting a lot of use out of our new drone, so I appreciate that. And here it is looking south. So you've seen these so many times. Conforms with city code. Here's our 5 criteria for a conditional use permit. I will go into a couple of these in more detail. But quickly, staff has reviewed this and has found that all these criteria have been met, but I do want to focus on a couple. So I will focus on criterias 1, 2, and 4. That first one's going to be that the site for the proposed use is adequate in size and topography to accommodate the use, and that all yard spaces, walls, fences, parking, loading, and landscaping are adequate to properly relate. Hit the right button. So this site is proposed, or the proposed site is zone B2, general commercial use. It's quick service, convenience food restaurant is a permitted use in B2 zones, as long as they have an approved conditional use permit. The site meets the requirements for lot size. The building location meets all setback requirements, the proposed location. The applicant is proposing a comprehensive landscape plan. There is sufficient parking on site, and there is an access agreement with the surrounding landowner, so they will have access to that additional parking if it should be needed. There is a shared access agreement with the adjoining party that I just said that. Okay, the proposed restaurant will fit in with the character of the surrounding area. That part of Florence is commercial. There's already a food city. There's other dining. I think that Jack in the Box is on the opposite corner. So this is where those things go. The restaurant will provide additional options for the Casa Grande community. I think Casa Grande's got a great food network. We've got a lot of different places, and I think it'd be nice to have a little bit more variety. The proposed location is greater than 50 feet from a residential zone boundary. That is one of the conditions that need to be met for a fast food restaurant, is that it must be at least 50 feet from a residential zone boundary. This is right in the heart of B2. That's not a concern. As for our second point, and I think this is going to be more contentious than the first, is traffic. So that the site for the proposed use relates to streets and highways adequate in width and pavement type to carry the quantity and kind of traffic generated by the proposed use. And on its surface, the streets are fine. I will get to the concern here momentarily. So as part of my review, I looked at the trip generation letter that was provided by the applicant's traffic engineer firm. And what they found was that the proposed development is anticipated to generate 797 daily trips. So it is going to increase the number of trips on Florence and in that area. They're looking at 75 AM peak hour trips and 49 PM hour trips, peak hour trips during the average weekday. So AM and PM. This restaurant will not provide breakfast service, and therefore it is not planned to generate a significant amount of morning peak hour traffic. So because there's no breakfast, it's not going to interfere with that morning commute. And it should be noted that the peak hour of generator volumes will likely coincide with lower adjacent arterial traffic volumes than would be experienced during the peak hour. And what I believe this is saying is that your peak and morning travel, your commuter traffic isn't overlapping with your lunch and dinner crowds. So that keeps, and what the traffic report or the trip generator letter that they provided, their conclusion was that based on the anticipated traffic volumes for the proposed development and the fact that the morning peak hour trips are negligible, no significant impact is anticipated. Therefore, they are recommended no changes or improvements. So that is where planning staff has used for their, or that's what I have used for that review criteria. So in here is that Wiener Schnitzel proposed location. You can see the intersection of Amarillo and Florence. If I can get my pointer option. So the access to the Wiener Schnitzel that they're proposing is here on this south end. And it is undesirably close to the corner. The other two accesses that would be possibly available to them, there's the access easement agreement that would allow them to use this one here. As this whole lot, and I don't have that in front of me right now, but I will have that here shortly. But the larger lot was split to sell off a portion to the Wiener Schnitzel Group. They were, part of that sale was access to the south access drive and an easement for the access drive to the north. And then the fourth issue that I wanted to look at is that the proposed use shall be in conformance with the general plan. And the 2030 general plan site design standards can be found in the non-residential specific development standard section of the community corridor chapter. So here's that image again. You can see our proposed site, various retail and services with Food Cities there. We've got the Jack in the Box. We've got a new fitness proposed to go in, and the Hobby Lobby is up and running. So the general plan asks us to encourage a variety of uses on a single site, both horizontally and vertically. And you can see here that we are including multiple uses with the various retail. We'll have more dining. So it is meeting that first standard. The uses should place adjacent to arterial and collector roadways to promote visibility for businesses and to encourage transition to surrounding residential areas. Florence is a minor arterial, and I believe Amarillo is a collector, and I can be corrected if that is incorrect. So it is at the intersection of a collector and an arterial road there. Encourage shared parking facilities between the buildings and uses. We've got that shared parking arrangement, so that is being done as well. Encourage pedestrian, bicyclist, and vehicle access into and between uses and parcels to decrease congestions and promotion. It's hard to see in this image, but there will be some sidewalk cutouts and walk paths that they will be creating as part of their site plan. And provided for this, same thing for the bicycle access surrounding neighborhoods and residential uses. This is quite a distance from a residential use, so this doesn't apply near as much. And then encourage use of appropriate open space, including plazas, gardens, courtyards, and other pedestrian areas. They are providing a larger-ish open landscaped area here on the east side of their building. They will have a dining area, and I know that's not directly for the public, but it's more than we get with some of our establishments. And then encourage open space to be visible from the city streets. This is going to be pretty up front and center next to Florence, so that it will be visible. And then quickly, the public notification process that is required was met. I think right now I'm going to go ahead and do this part. Staff recommend the Planning Commission approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution, DSA 25-00062, for a convenience food restaurant, or Wiener Schnitzel, located at 1150 East Florence Boulevard, near the northeast corner, East Florence Boulevard and North Amarillo Street, with the following condition: that any site plan for this development shall meet all departmental requirements addressed through the minor site plan review process. This is a conditional use permit, and while it is intended to make sure that this use is adequate and meets the requirements of the surrounding neighborhood, a conditional use permit is a lot like asking, can we? Whereas the minor site plan is more, this is how we're going to do it. So at this time, that is staff's recommendation. And I would be happy to answer any questions. Oh, staff did not receive any inquiries or comments about this proposal from the public. There was some comments that are brought up by commission, but I wanted to address them here. So that did happen.
Okay. Questions?
Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question. Sam, the Florence Boulevard Streetscape project, is this a location that there'll be a raised median?
So yes, as I understand my communication with Clark about 2 or 3 months back when we discussed the Southern Access Drive, which is contentious. And I
Okay.
think Public Works is going to talk on that tonight as well, and I'm going to give them their place to do that. But yes, when the Florence Boulevard project comes through here, they will get a raised median, which will prevent any left turns into this location. And now that you've brought that up, I didn't specify too much, but the 25 or 22 feet of right-of-way dedication is our first step into getting that right-of-way dedicated to the city, so that as we start to procure those easements, this one is maybe one of the first ones on the list, so I'm happy to say that they're currently
Okay.
promising to.
So it's contentious with the applicant, not necessarily,
Well,
they're not completely agreeing. Well, I guess we'll hear from them, so let's.
my applicant did not make it here tonight, so we will unfortunately not be hearing from them directly. But I can say that their concerns are that south access would be the only access that is on a property that they own. And to have them remove that and put a sidewalk across it, they would then be subject to 2 other property owners, which is not always the best place to be in, as well as with the flow. With the flow coming into the drive here, to pull their access from up north, move that traffic down, and then through their drive-through would not be ideal for them, in their opinion. I can understand if I've got to go to a restaurant that's right on Florence, but I got to drive half a block up, then drive half a block through a parking lot, get my food, drop half a block back up, and then half a block back down to Florence. I'm going to eat somewhere else. And I think that may be their concern. I don't want to speak for them, but I think in general, that and not having, now they do have a shared access agreement. That shared access agreement does require, now between them and the legal people who sold those properties, does require that the Wiener Schnitzel keeps that access open and maintained. So if we do something different, I don't know what that would look like on their end. That's for lawyers. But so yes, my applicant does have concerns, and that's what those are. And I wasn't trying to sugarcoat them or move through them. I just knew that this was going to be a discussion, and I wasn't sure how deep into it we needed to get. But I do have information. I will answer questions. And like I said, I know that Public Works.
Okay.
Talk to us.
Yeah, can we hear from?
Dwayne.
I just want to hear from Public Works.
Okay, I want to clarify a few things that Sam said. One is Florence Boulevard is a principal arterial. The peak traffic time is lunchtime on Florence Boulevard. And of course, he was correct that Amarillo is a collector. And what we're suggesting is, because of all the traffic on Florence Boulevard, our busiest street in town, that driveway is not in a good spot, doesn't meet our access management standards. We were suggesting they get a driveway off of Amarillo and come in that way. And I can't believe that little bit of space should concern them that much about going up the street a little bit, making a turn and coming in the other way, considering the amount of safety issues with that driveway on Florence Boulevard.
Is that drive already in place?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You can take it.
So Dwayne, what you're saying is when they come through with their minor site plan, you're going to close that driveway that's off Florence? You would
Yes,
like them to?
That's what we would like to do, yes.
But they'll still be able to go down Amarillo and into.
Yes, I mean, they'd have to build a new driveway there, but if they want one closer, we have no problem with them building a driveway in between where that existing one on the north is and Florence Boulevard.
Do they, Sam, do they own that space
They do
between
not.
the green line and the red line?
No.
Okay.
So, Dwayne, correct me, the spacing for the access is a 1/4 mile on a primary arterial?
Yes, full access on a principal arterial is a 1/4 mile.
Okay, so on the screen here, that red line is the distance from that intersection that a 1/4 mile would look like.
We understand that we can't always meet the 1/4 mile access. In our standards, there is a statement that the traffic engineer can make changes to that if it makes sense. So nobody's asking for them to get an access 1/4 mile away. All we're asking is close the one on Florence Boulevard and put it on Amarillo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Get to discussion, yeah.
And yes, we will be building a raised median when we do the streetscape project.
And will Amarillo have no access, right in, right out on Amarillo in the future?
We haven't got that far yet. We're just in the process of putting out an RFQ to hire a designer. And so although we do have a design concept report, it doesn't get into those kind of details yet.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay.
And when is this going to be happening, the street?
This is the second phase,
That's
once
what I
they
thought.
begin.
This is like the 15-year plan, like we'll probably get here in
Correct.
15 years. So probably never. Okay. Yeah.
So we're starting the Florence Boulevard Street Sweep project. It's a progressive design build project. We should have it completed, I would say, within 5 years.
The whole, all of Florence? 'Cause
Yes.
I thought they said 15 years.
No, between 5, well, this part, 5 years from this. We're starting out with the 6-lane from Hennis to I-10. That's a
Right.
few years away. Then this is the second portion of it. And most of this isn't widening the roadway or anything. It's putting a raised
Just doing
median
that.
down and then a bunch of landscaping and things on the
Gosh.
edges.
Oh, I was
And
under,
I would say between 5 and 10 years, at 10 at the most, we'd be done here. The 15-year part was way downtown in the Treckle to Pinnell area. But even that should go quicker with our progressive design build.
Okay.
Okay.
okay. So they only own what's gray right here. Nothing else.
Yep. That's my impression. Right, the red circle, the red square, circle,
what they-
square, whatever.
So yes, this red square here is the property owned by Wiener Schnitzel. The green square is the larger portion that was split from.
Okay.
The red triangles here are the various accesses on the north side there of Florence.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, seeing none, okay, the applicant's not here, so the applicant or their representative, all right. So anybody from the public like to address this issue? Please come forward.
Good evening again, council. Hi. Nancy Wood, 513 Speckle Road, Casa Grande, Arizona. I just want to make I love Wiener Schnitzel. It's not the issue. I know it's actually a kind of a nice location for them to do.
Can you pull that mic down just a little bit?
The only thing I wanted to make a comment on, and again, he's kind of already addressed the issue with traffic. All that section on Florence Boulevard with Food City, Cal Ranch, because it's the older development of how they put the roads in and where they put the driveway accesses and things. And a lot of those driveways that access into these storefronts are problematic because they're not designed very well and they're pretty rough. And a lot of the traffic that's turning into like Food City to go to their, they slow down extremely slow because the entryways into these storefronts are really not designed very well. So adding more traffic to those locations, it just really creates a nightmare for traffic. And again, I know they want to have people to be able to turn in right to their business. But I wish there was some way of talking with the landowners like Food City and the places like this that they could get in and develop a right turn only to get into these locations. That they've got open space for parking. So one of the things that could be solving some of the issues to getting into Wiener Schnitzel and Food City is if they would make a right turn only section to get into both of them and then shut off that one access in front of Wiener Schnitzel, and it would solve multiple problems. So, take a little bit of that parking space and turn a right lane only in so people can get off Florence Boulevard and turn into the businesses, and it would be more safe for everybody. So I don't know. It would be talking to businesses, I know that, but that would be the thing that I think would be the most helpful for getting Wiener Schnitzel in here. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the public like to address this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting and bring it back to commission. Commissioners?
I'll just say, I'm in agreement with Public Works, and I think as part of the conditional use, we should require the closure of that southern access point, mainly because when I look at our access goals of access management and our access management standards, bullet points 2 and 3, general guidance regarding access management with respect to the city's roadway network follows. Seek to employ the principles, practices, and techniques of access management early in the site plan review process to assure potential changes in access are fully evaluated and provide a means for initiating changes to improve existing access conditions. This site very much meets that. 2, focus on obvious access control situations that represent or have demonstrated qualities of unsafe traffic operations, such as strip commercial areas where driveways are a frequent occurrence. And so, Sam, if you went back to that photo of all the driveways that you're pointing out, you got 2 just for the Jack in the Box on Florence, 1 for the Food City, and then 1 for this site, all between Pueblo and Amarillo Street. And so that you have 4 right there. That's just too many. Like it's going to cause an accident, especially when you start putting in another use that is not proposing to do indoor dining, but they're planning to use a drive-through, which means they're going to use a lot of drive-through traffic. And so that means a lot more people coming through there with vehicles. And so that third access, it may not be used currently a lot right now because there's not a whole lot there. You'd rather use that center one and go to the Food City. But you put something there like this, it's going to increase the use of that access point. And so it's going to create more potential changes or more potential for unsafe traffic movements. And so that's where I'm in complete agreement that we need to close that. And it's also part of our general plan. When you look at the Florence East neighborhood strategy area or strategic area, it talks about the area between Potty Bomb and I can't remember the Treckle, maybe a little bit further. But it talks about the blight of this area and the need to redevelop it. And so through this use, they're asking to do something. We should look to redevelop this and make sure that it's safe access and it's an attractive use and it's not going to cause problems. And so that's where I think we need to require the closure of that southern access as part of the conditional use permit.
Okay, I guess my only challenge with that is we as a city are gonna do changes. And so I'm gonna force them to do one thing and then the city's gonna come change to something else. I don't know what that change is gonna be, but that's just my only challenge with
What do you mean by changes?
Well, we're changing the streetscape, we're changing the sidewalks, we're changing the,
Well-
you know, what all are we doing? I don't know what those are.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying is I don't know what they are.
Yeah, but whether it's closed or not those changes are going to occur whether it's closed or not closed. And so if it were to remain open, those changes are going to come through. Traffic, or the sidewalk's going to be improved, the landscaping is going to be improved next to it, but that access driveway is going to stay there. If we require them to close it, whether they build this or not after we require that, I don't know. But if they were to build it and we required that to close it, they're still going to come through with the sidewalk. It's just instead of that access drive, the sidewalk's just going to go through there right now, and it's going to be curbed rather than having a driveway. That's really the only difference. And so the city's changes are still going to be the city's changes. And so I don't, whether we close it or not.
Okay, commissioners, anything else?
I could just say from experience, it's much easier to close it before the development occurs versus after the development occurs. So I think it's great that they're taking some initiative and, you know, saying we need to close it before it gets there. And that's how I'm understanding it, right?
Say that again?
So the driveway will not exist. The development process is going to require the closure of the
No.
driveway?
Not currently, and that is part of the minor site plan where planning has recommended that we leave that open, and Public Works is recommending that they close that and choose access somewhere else that they don't own.
So this is a disagreement between Public Works and planning? I'm
Not
confused.
necessarily. Planning is supportive of Public Works. there was some dialogue with the traffic engineer and some emails with concerns about using Amarillo. And but we have been supportive of closing the access drive. We realize that it's not a safe condition. There's too many access drives. Anybody who drives Florence Boulevard knows that we should be closing some of these access drives. But in consideration of the property owner and their development, I think it does make it tough for them to be at this location without that access drive too. But I also agree with you, Commissioner Garza, that it's hard to close it once they're there.
Yeah, I would like to say there was some miscommunication.
Ms. Dwayne, say again?
There was some miscommunication in Public Works from what Sam said about the traffic engineer and what the two of us want to do. And we're going to rectify some communication problems inside Public Works, so this won't happen again, but we definitely want to close that driveway.
So this will be determined by the time we get the site plan then, correct? No?
We won't.
Well, which we won't see.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Because it's not a major site plan,
That's
it's a
right,
minor
it's
site plan.
minor.
We would recommend that you condition the approval of this to close that access drive. That would need to be done in a motion.
I think we need to start thinking about this Florence Boulevard streetscape project along the, like, we've approved something else further to the east where I thought, we needed to make some considerations for the project, but I don't think everybody was prepared to have the discussion. But I think we need to start somewhere, and this is where we start. So, and I'm not, I'm going to say this, because I think this does also affect the use of the property, right? So this is how this person develops, and, they bought the property knowing it had this wonderful driveway, and now we're changing things. So I think this could be before a judge as well in an issue. So I think this is a similar situation, because the access management guidelines do not go to the property owner to ask them what they think either. So, but I think this makes perfect sense. So I'm not going to make the motion.
Big chicken.
Could I ask staff, what would that motion be to add the condition?
You would make a motion to, in the affirmative of the CUP with a condition that the southern access drive or the Florence access drive be closed before minor site plan approval.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, Chair, I'd like to make a
You heard
motion.
Dan, real quick,
Hold on.
Dan, just to be sure.
Yeah, hang on, Mark.
So before minor site plan approval, it has to be closed?
No,
Okay, because that's what you just said, so I just wanted to make sure.
This site plan would have to demonstrate that it's being closed, but thank you for
Okay.
that detail.
So it just needs to be closed, like the site plan needs to show that, okay.
We wouldn't approve the site plan essentially if
Right,
it's not closed.
I just wanted to make sure it
Because
doesn't
it's
have to be closed before you approve major site, or the minor site. I just want to make sure that's what you meant, so.
So would you give us the verbiage so that we can make that motion properly? Whoever.
But I think he was saying that the minor site plan shall show the driveway on Florence Boulevard being closed prior to any approval of a minor site plan. Is that what you meant?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. Thank you.
Is that?
I'll try. I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit and associated resolution DSA 250062 with the following conditions. Any site plan for this development shall meet all departmental requirements addressed through the minor site plan review process. And 2, the southern access point shall be closed. Prior to development?
Shall be shown.
Shall be shown as closed on any minor site plan?
Prior to approval.
Prior to approval. There we go.
Second that?
Did you get that, Erica?
How's you doing over there, Erica? Okay. All right, so we think we're good with that verbiage? All right, I have a motion.
I'll second that.
Reader's second, I love it. Okay, motion second, any discussion? Again, I gotta say, well done, guys. Good discussion, talking through it all, it's great. So please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldret,
Yes.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Doesn't matter. I would be disturbed if I was this owner. But I sure see the point, and it's gonna happen at some point. We need it to happen at some point, so I'll say yes. All right. Motion approved with conditions. Next, where are we at? G4, request by new singular, okay. Wireless AT&T on behalf of Clark Septic Tank Services LLC for
All right, so I'm
zone
gonna-
change, yeah, Jim?
Sorry, I was chomping at the bit to get
Conditional
this one
use
done.
permit and a minor site plan. Okay, I'll get out of your way, go, man.
I was like, oh, you're still talking, I'm sorry. I apologize. I was just eager. So as you were introducing this item, Mr. Chair, this is for the consideration of a conditional use permit and minor site plan for a wireless telecommunication facility to accommodate a tower for new singular wireless AT&T. The location of the site is on a 6.5 acre parcel east of I-10 south of Selma. And what's being proposed is an 80-foot tall wireless telecommunication facility. It will be of stealth design and involve a lease area of about 2,500 square feet and an access road to get to the tower off of Selma. By stealth design, I mean that it's going to be designed to appear as a water tower, which will help make that facility look less utility in appearance. There are two requests in front of you. The primary one is for consideration of the conditional use permit. It sits in the urban ranch zone where facilities are permitted use by right up to a height of 28 feet, but over 28 feet, it's subject to a conditional use, so at 80 feet tall, as is the request, a CUP would be needed. And then I'm actually deferring the, what would ordinarily be an administrative consideration of a minor site plan to you all, unlike the last case that you heard this evening. The CUP review criteria has been discussed within the staff report, and when we talk about wireless telecommunication facilities specifically, there's additional review criteria that has to be taken into consideration. And staff has looked over both the site plan with regard to the placement and height of the facility, and we feel that it has met all of this criteria. I do want to point out that at 80 feet tall, where the tower is placed, or specifically the lease area, they're more than meeting all of the necessary setbacks. It's basically a 1-to-1 relationship, meaning that at an 80-foot height, the tower can't be closer than 80 feet from any property line, and it more than meets it from all four directions. And we also are supportive of the fact that they are proposing a stealth design of the water tower, primarily because even though there's just fields out there today, and may be that way for quite a while, the area is surrounded by an approved planned area development zone district known as Mountain Shadows. And although that area doesn't have certificates of assured water supply, there may come a time when there is a solution to that and it might develop residentially. I'm overlaying that approved PAD to show you how much land it encompasses. So having a cell tower that is of a water tower design would be a benefit to that future neighborhood. Regarding the public notification process, we met that which is required by code. Staff has not received any comments as a result of our public notification efforts. We are making the following recommendations: that you approve the conditional use permit subject to these 6 specific conditions that's within the resolution. And then we also are recommending that you approve the minor site plan for this facility. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions? Would you go back to your list of conditions? These are the same as was in the report?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions for staff? The applicant or their representative like to come forward? Okay, not here. All right. So I'll open the public portion of the meeting. If anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. Commissioners, back to you. So we have two. Yep, we need two motions.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you very much. Let somebody speak up. Let's go.
I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional use permit DSA 2300200 and associated resolution with the following conditions.
Second.
Okay, motion is second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza.
Just a quick question. Garrett said 00200, but on the screen it says 00247. So which one is
Yeah,
it?
actually, thank you for pointing that out. I want to point out 2 errors on this screen. The first one is that the correct file number is DSA 2300200, and that it is 80 feet in height, not 100.
Oh, okay. And I'm an aye,
So
just
we
wanted
have
some
several
clarification.
things. Yeah, look at that.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so we're at voting here.
Aye.
Chairman Benedict,
Yes. And
Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
thank you very much.
I'd like to make a motion to approve DSA 2500054, the minor site plan for the wireless facility at 1464 South Dusty Lane.
Now, listen to you just like a professional. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, motion and a second. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldred,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes, and I love this plan. We gotta do more of these. This looks, I hope it looks as cool as it does on paper.
It is cool. Never seen one before.
I haven't either. I think that just looks
Better
cool.
than the pine trees.
Yeah, the palm trees,
Or the
yeah, the
pine-
palm trees.
Or the pine trees.
The
We
pine
don't,
Yeah.
the pine trees, we don't have any hardly in southern Arizona, but
And
they
here's
got them
this
out
huge
there.
giant one.
Maybe up north, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Down here, no.
Yeah, and it's just giant, yeah. All right, so next we need to consider forwarding a recommendation to city council for a request from the city involving 304 acres of land in Cascade Mountain Park, south of I-8, a minor general plan amendment and a zone change.
All right.
You're on.
All right. So as you indicated, there are 2 requests in front of you this evening pertaining to Casa Grande Mountain Park I'll give you a walkthrough specifically with what's being requested. So I have it color coded here. Casa Grande Mountain Park proper is approximately 1,350 acres owned by the city of Casa Grande and within city limits, and that's what's identified in blue on your screen. If you notice specifically between the north and the south, it gets really skinny. But there is some acreage identified in yellow, I call it Utah, that is within Pinal County jurisdiction that's owned by the state, but it's accessed and generally available for users of the Casa Grande Mountain Park. And within our general plan, by the way, the area that you're seeing both in blue and yellow here is within our open space category. May lightning strike me if I'm...
There's a firework.
Oh, that sounded like lightning. That's true. I realize that now. So in green, that entire area is our current open space designation per our general plan. There are some additional acres that's identified in that orangey color that are used and accessed by the public and thought to be part of Casa Grande Mountain Park. But the area that you see in orange are not state, county, or city owned. So these properties that you see might be developed privately in the future unless acquired at a future time for open space purposes. So we're going to specifically talk about the 304.5 acres of land that's outlined in purple there, or dark blue. It's owned by the city, but not officially part of the park. It sits outside of the area designated as open space by the general plan. And until recently, the city-owned property was reserved as part of a contract to sell to a private owner. These 304.5 acres, as well as land owned by the private owner, is part of a planned area development zone that's entitled for a variety of uses. It's part of the Casa Grande Mountain Ranch PAD, also known as Dreamport Villages Casa Grande South PAD. So the request in front of you this evening is to rezone those 304 acres out of the PAD and change its zoning to urban ranch. That would be the same zoning that the rest of the Casa Grande Mountain Ranch proper zoning is zoned. And then in order to consider that zoning, it would have to be supported by the general plan designation of open space. So that's why there's the two requests. A little bit more context on the left is a general approximation of the area that we're talking about. In fact, that's where the Erica Trailhead is located. It's not on the Casa Grande Mountain Park property proper. It's where the Erica Trailhead sits is within the PAD that is currently approved for that area. And this just shows you the two specific requests. The left shows you the existing general plan designation of neighborhoods, and the proposed general plan designation would place it into open space. And then, of course, the zone change, this gives you a little bit clearer image on the left of what its current PAD land uses are. You'll notice LDR and VLDR stands for low-density residential, which would be up to about 4.5 dwelling units per acre. And VLDR is very low-density residential, which basically allows 1 dwelling unit per acre. And even within that 304 acres as it exists, there's about 92 acres designated as open space. But 212 acres does have that residential designation. When considering general plan amendments and specifically minor ones, these are the criteria that have to be evaluated, and the staff report goes into all of these in great detail, but I just want to focus on items 6 and 7 for you. 6 is, how does this accomplish general plan goals and what action steps are achieved by the proposed amendment? So specifically within goal 04, expanded city network of open spaces, parks, and trails, and that's exactly what's being sought with this request. Action step 04.2 is target properties adjacent to Casa Grande Mountain for purchase for open space expansion. We don't have to purchase it because it's already owned by the city. Another action step is to continue to acquire land to develop a scenic corridor around Casa Grande by connecting large parks with greenways and multi-use trails. Casa Grande Mountain Park proper, as well as this 304 acres, already has trails developed upon it. It would be a loss of trail if that 304 acres ended up being developed in a way that the area that many users already think to be part of the park ends up having to be redesigned. And then the last action step is increase recreational resources by maximizing the multi-purpose uses of existing open spaces. So Casa Grande Mountain serves as an opportunity for people to hike, mountain bike, trail run, bird watch, etc. The other criteria that I want to talk about is kind of interesting to me is describe how the proposed amendment impacts the general plan land use pattern. So currently there's about 51,000 acres in the neighborhood's general plan designation, 304 of which is this area. So we would lose 304.5 acres out of the neighborhood's general plan designation, and it would go into the open space designation, increasing the open space designated from 2,892 acres to 3,196. It would be a 10% increase in the city's open space. Meanwhile, less than 1% of a decrease of neighborhoods. So regarding the zone change, there's 3 criteria that get evaluated, and they all have to do with the city's general plan again. The first criteria associated with zone changes is that the action is consistent with the general plan, and the second is that a rezoning conforms to the general plan if it proposes densities and intensities within those uses identified within the general plan. So for open space designation, it supports urban ranch zoning, and it does support public, there's some improvements that are supportable. There is a limited amount of utility installations like wireless telecommunication facilities, etc. Water tanks, things that can utilize the advantage of the elevation and so forth, but it would be through leases agreed to by the city. But otherwise, its primary function is to accommodate for open space. Regarding the notification process, there was a sign posted at the trailhead, and notification was sent to owners within 1,500 feet. That was 5 times increase. Normally we do just 300, but that didn't reach very far at looking at all the undeveloped land around there. And then there was publication in the Casa Grande Dispatch. We did receive a couple of calls, and there are some people in the audience that I do believe intend to speak about the project. We did receive a lot of correspondence over the last couple of days, and so that didn't make it into your staff report, but it was distributed this evening for you. That was in support of this request. But we also do have people that are not necessarily in favor of this change at this time. and they're here to speak about that as well, because they believe that there's an opportunity to perhaps keep the zoning and general plan designation as is, but an opportunity to have it be developed in some way as its current PAD, which may be an amenity to the city. But I will have that gentleman speak about that perspective. Should this be recommended for approval this evening, the minor general plan amendment and zone change would go to the August 18th city council meeting, and they would be the final authority on both decisions. Staff does recommend that Planning Commission forward to City Council a recommendation to approve the minor general plan amendment from neighborhoods to open space. And then our second recommendation is that you forward to City Council a recommendation to approve the zone change from Casa Grande Mountain Ranch, otherwise known as Dreamport Village's Casa Grande South, to Urban Ranch. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Commissioners, any questions for staff? No? Would the applicant, oh, you are the applicant.
We are the applicant, but we also have some other staff in the audience that
Okay.
would probably be also considered applicants.
Would they like to address the commission?
Good evening. My name's Danny Gallegos. I am the Community Services Director for the City of Casa Grande. I manage the entire department, libraries, parks and recreation, and one of these areas is Casa Grande Mountain. We are in the current stages of doing some plans for, additional plans for here. We have some, working with some different trail developers and, or excuse me, designers. We are going to be putting up signs here pretty soon. We're actually going to be reviewing some of the signs coming up shortly. As a Parks and Recreation professional, that is one of our goals nationally, locally, throughout the state, through our associations, is to try to preserve open space for the public. So I'm here in support of keeping that open space, and I'd be happy to answer any questions about the operation of any of the trails that we have here in the city.
Okay. Any questions for
Quick
the
question.
city? Yep, please.
Dan, do you have any trail counts of how often people use it? I mean, I know it's heavily used. I was just curious.
I don't have any of those numbers available right now. I do not. I know it's very it's not available. It's not very busy right now, but
Oh, come October.
come October, it's very busy. We get there's hiking clubs. There's a lot of biking clubs. I know there's various groups that utilize the space that I'm in communication with from time to time on trail maintenance and trail issues and things like that.
Would you say that the city has a little bit of an advantage to have this mountainous recreation versus a regular desert, flatter area?
Yes, I mean, for enthusiasts especially, because a lot of the areas throughout the area are pretty flat, if you live in various areas. But to have the opportunity to actually go into mountains, mountain bike, hike, you can go into any farming area and go into flat lands, but it's very few mountains within the actual city to be able to go and have technical trails, especially some of the mountain bike community are looking for areas. They have to drive to Phoenix, they have to drive to Scottsdale, they have to drive to Tucson areas. This is one of the few places that are actually a public space for them to do technical rides and actually have, be able to compete in race and things like that.
Great, thank you.
Good. Any other questions? The applicant. All right, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'd like to open it up for the public. Anybody from the public like to address this issue, please come forward. Sure, and give us your name and address for the record.
Evening, Chairman, members of the Commission. My name is Jack Gilmore. Thank you. Gilmore Planning and Landscape Architecture. I'm here tonight on behalf of the property owner, George Chassie, who is the general partner for Casa Grande Mountain Ranch Limited Partnership. I am here representing George, asking for a postponement. I'm going to give you some history here. George bought this property in 1978. For you who were here, that area is quite remote, and George had to wait for urban development, Casa Grande, to grow to the south. In 1988, George put together a contract to acquire this 304 acres, and he made a substantial down payment. And over the intervening years, he's made more principal payments and interest payments. But that's 37 years of a mortgage, in effect. That number is quite sizable. I first got involved in this property in 2005, or 6, excuse me, when George was trying to address some of that interest from builders, home builders especially, who saw the benefit of this kind of property being presented to the market. So I worked with George to prepare the original PAD on this property, Casa Grande Mountain Ranch. And part of that effort was to distribute the density on this property because, as you might be well aware, there are very few opportunities in this area to do hillside development. Comparison, parts of North Phoenix, North Scottsdale, where you've got those dramatic views. In 2000 and approximately 7 or 8, George was contacted by the city, and around the city property on that northwest corner that Jim showed initially, is that still up here? That first general plan exhibit? There's and Jim showed that big yellow area. Right on that northeast corner of that yellow area, there was a break in the trail system. So George donated 3 acres so that the city of Casa Grande could have a continuous trail network around that property. So that was the donation George made to the city for the Parks Department. In 2014, we processed another major amendment, general plan amendment, and a PAD for the north side of I-8, and that was Regional Gateway Commerce Center. And that's Center Point of the Southwest. That was put together as an exhibit. Yeah, that's perfect. If I can indulge, I'd like to go for another minute or two. I'll try and wrap this up. But the north side was Regional Gateway Commerce Center, and they started a national marketing campaign to attract some national users. Got a lot of interest. As you know, we went through the recession, we went through COVID, but I can tell you there are 3 major employment entities very seriously interested in this property. All those entities have seen the benefit and the wisdom of bringing both sides of these properties together, north and south of Interstate 8. These employment users, entities, national guys, see the benefit of having a master plan community of this caliber with those hillside views as part of the package. George has had to go through a change of access report with ADOT, which was lengthy and very expensive. We're having to deal with the ability to get water to this area, which is also very expensive. And part of that marketing effort is to be able to package this as a master plan community, employment, and a residential basis on the south side. So part of that effort is to preserve as much of the property as possible so that these national entities can attract partner home builders who see the wisdom and benefit and value of hillside development. So we're hoping, because of this interest, that we can request a continuance or a postponement. George would like to be here, but he's recovering from some back surgery. So I'm here in his stead. He did not know about this effort by the city to go through this process to change the zoning. We just found out about this last Thursday. I understand he was notified by mail, but for some reason George did not receive that. So once we found out about this, we wanted to come down here and request, because of this interest, that we have your support to postpone this and give us the time to work with these users to finesse their interest and work with staff to share that interest and establish that potential. So that's my request. Can we get a postponement to allow us to work with these entities to finesse their interest before this decision's made?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
We need to go on this public hearing. We need to hear anybody else that wants to speak. Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Wallen. I'm at 2409 East San Lorenzo Trail here in Casa Grande. Resident for nearly 20 years now. And this mountain in particular, I've got a lot of my own personal blood, sweat, and tears. I've been a trail steward for the last, almost 10 years now. A lot of the trails and open space that have been built out there, I've been a part of with a team of dedicated volunteers, previous community services directors, and city staff working on this trail system, working on this. Having this piece of property and others like it as they become available and keeping this open space is something that's invaluable. Casa Grande Mountain is a treasure for Casa Grande. We have people, you asked earlier how many people use this trail system, and the number's thousands throughout the year. We have people that travel from Tucson, Phoenix area that come down here. We've had people that travel from as far as Canada and other places around the world. We have the Jump Zone, which is down in Eloy, and residents from there that stay to train and to practice skydiving routines and practice military procedures around that type of stuff there. They recreate out that mountain as well. So the mountain is something that is heavily used and utilized. And this particular section of trail has some trails that go through it that connect the north end and the south end of the trail system and have some of the most beginner-friendly segments of that trail. So eliminating this piece of property or developing this type of thing would eliminate those beginner-friendly trails and make it so that certain people in the population wouldn't have access or be able to connect from the north side to the south side. It would cut them off and in a way that would be ultimately detrimental. The short-term gains of developing property and building, beautiful homes that are on a hillside, that type of stuff, they're not going to benefit the city and the community in the long run. And I would ask that you would approve this and consider doing that for the benefit of not just the here and the now and the developers now, but for future generations and for the city to come. As we develop and we become larger and we get to the point where our community is completely built out, it may not be in any of our lifetimes, but sometime down the line, some generation's going to appreciate the efforts that were made here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Debbie Mummy, 9916 West Arvada out of Arizona City. And I represent, my husband and I have the junior high school mountain bike race team. And our practice track is Casa Grande Mountain. We're fixing to start up, starting off Erica Trailhead. We'll be using the south side of the mountain. Some of our elite athletes will be headed north and encompass the full mountain. Not on the west side unless you want to chase bullets, but over into the middle and to the north. What an exciting opportunity to bring open spaces in here to keep the natural. We're growing so fast in Casa Grande, taking up all of our nature. It'll be wonderful to have an area that's not built up with houses and just brick and mortar. So I'm for the open spaces. My husband and I are trail stewards. We have a lot of trail stewards out there. We're currently working on the south end on the trails, keeping it safe for everyone. That's something that we love to do, and we've been doing that for, 20-something years, before a lot of the trails were made. So love that mountain, and I'm just in all support of it, to keep it open.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public like to address this issue?
Evening again. Nancy Wood, 513 Speckle Road. And didn't quite expect to come up and mention some things about this, but I've always been an advocate for open spaces and preserving our way of life to be able to experience the outdoors. It's one of the biggest health benefits we have, and to lose it to the public is just not good for ourselves in the long run. And I would promote, getting this preserved for the open spaces and the use of the public. And there's many, many things that could be done that would be better than private home use. I mean, you could do something like a botanical garden, and there could be public events and other things that could be used for this area, that if people wanted to really make the investment, it could be actually probably more financially long-term benefit in things like that, where the public would have use for appropriate outdoor uses that they would use on an ongoing basis. So I support the open spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else like to address this issue? You spoke before.
Thank you, Chairman. 1 minute. I guess I want to reiterate the fact that one of the things that brought George to this property was the views and the relationship to those mountains. In all the land planning we did for this, the trail connections into that master plan community are critical, and we have a separate trail plan that illustrates some of those opportunities. I guess I'm hoping we'll have a chance to work with staff, Parks and Rec staff, to finesse a relationship that allows these things to come together. I think a lot of that land can be preserved for open space. Of course, that 92 acres will be automatically, but by the time you put in trailheads, I think we can preserve more of that land. I think George would very much support the different groups that are using the trails, and that's all part of the marketing, I think, to make this project so attractive. So I guess I'm hoping, as part of this process, we have a chance to work with staff to finesse what everybody wants to see on this, because I know George wants that too.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to address this issue? Seeing none, I'll close the public portion of the meeting, bring it back to the commission. I did have one question. I have to ask it. The way legislation is going, it will become more and more mute, apparently. But are there any cause in this property we're talking about?
Currently, there are not issued certificate of assured water supplies. There is some history to that land that I think there was at one time a certificate of the tear down from that. It wasn't a certificate of assured water, but it was what you get right prior to that, and so there was always hope that could be converted to certificates, but it's been an ongoing process.
Okay, thank you.
Good question.
Well, thank you. Commissioners?
Hey, Mark, we can only postpone them or table for like one meeting, right?
Let me I'll check the code just on, because it's different for each
kind.
Each kind, but I think we can table it, but for no more than 2 meetings, but let me just double check.
Okay.
So,
I believe it's 60 days, if you want to double check. As the applicant, we would request that the commission make a decision. It's just a recommendation to city council, and then they can hear these arguments and make the decision as to whether they want to either move forward or not, since this isn't the final action this evening.
Do you know when it's scheduled for the council?
Yes, August 18th.
So,
Next month.
30 days, yeah.
I was just going to say, I don't really see a point in postponing this or tabling it, mainly for the fact that the amount of discussion that would be needed to kind of come to agreement with property owners and other interests, especially because you're dealing with the city, I don't think you can get that done in 60 days. And so I don't see any point in us postponing this.
Okay? Yes.
I think if he wanted to develop, he would have done it in the last 30 years. That's where I'm at. And it didn't happen, so, you know, we've recreated on it for all this time, and it's become, you know, people have built trails, volunteer communities, we have schools using it, so I think it needs to be preserved as park. Open space, not park.
And it is for 2 meetings, just to let you
Two
guys know.
meetings.
Can't table it for more than 2 meetings.
Gotcha. Okay? All right, commissioners.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you, sir.
All right, I'd like to make a motion of forwarding a recommendation to city council for the request for a minor general plan amendment to the City of Casa Grande General Plan 2030 and covered under DSA-25-0078.
Okay.
And we don't have any,
No conditions.
no conditions.
Were
Okay.
recommended.
And just to be clear, I'm not sure, but forwarding a favorable, a recommendation of approval. Because I just
Right.
heard a recommendation, I didn't hear.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Right, I want to recommend that we forward the recommendation to the city council
Of approval?
To approve.
for approval.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Okay, good motion, a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldret,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes.
Okay, second part of that, I would like to recommend to the city council an approval for the zone change of the city-owned land from a portion of Casa Grande Mountain Ranch, PAD, zone district to urban ranch under DSA-25-00079.
Second.
Very good. You had a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Aldret,
Aye.
Member Vanderhayden,
Yes.
Member Hubbard,
Yes.
Member Peters,
Aye.
Vice Chair Garza,
Aye.
Chairman Benedict.
Yes. All right. Planning Director, your reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. As Dwayne mentioned, the RFQ for the Florence Boulevard design is currently on the street, and it'll close August 15th. In August, Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, you are going to hear a number of code amendments that was started when Director Tice was here. And so we're going to try to get that begin the process of getting that across the finish line. There was a code amendment for the city council passed based on new state laws about expansion of construction hours. The city was mostly in compliance with that. We just needed to add a language to allow the pouring of concrete 1 hour before construction begins. The urban camping ordinance was passed by city council, and staff will be meeting to decide how that rolls out. The tablets, just to let you know, if you log onto your email, you might want to log out or just not do that because you won't be getting the same tablet back. And, more than likely not getting the same tablet back. And happy 4th of July. That's all I have.
All right.
Thank you.
Very good. Anything else, commissioners? We stand adjourned.
Yay.
Good.
I don't know what to-
No, me neither.